Sure, thanks for your time. You're a busy man. It is a busy time. You've used a lot of players in the last couple of weeks, and you certainly have a lot of people, to use the old coaching phrase, sticking their hand up for selection this week. A few big, key and important decisions to make.
No, across the board, really. It was a really pleasing performance against Ulster. We obviously got the win against Munster, but then I felt we improved our performance with a different team. So obviously that makes it very challenging selection-wise, particularly with a semi-final coming around the corner this Friday. But we've talked about it for a while. We've talked about the need for the squad to be connected and to get together. And there's only going to be 23 that'll get the opportunity this Friday, but we've got other games coming around the corner. Hopefully, we've got a big Munster. There's a game, a final to play in. There's a European Cup quarter final. Hopefully a semi-final. But it's very much about the next game, and we've got to get the selection right for this game in particular because there's such a quality opposition, and there will be no final unless we deliver on Friday night. And we certainly respect the opposition we're playing against. I think they've actually probably benefited from playing the same team twice, and I think even though they've got a short turnaround, I think they'll be formidable opponents on Friday.
And in terms of where you are with your own squad, and just focusing on that for a second, you've spoken in the past about how it's kind of player-led, player-driven. Have you learned a lot about your players in the space of the last couple of weeks, to where they're kind of challenging each other, A, in training because you see it, but B, what we've seen on the pitch for the last couple of weekends?
Yeah. It's a bit of both of everything. It is fair, but it's also coach as well. I think obviously we're all doing our bit, but obviously when it comes to the games, it's about delivering. And when they've been, not having played games and not got those decisions that they have to make in the heat of battle, it takes a while to get up to speed. The good thing is we've won both games, but as you say, like we've just finished training today, and very, very competitive training sessions, which is only going to serve us well in the future, I think, both in the short and long term. So, yeah, it is challenging. It's challenging the lads that get picked. It's challenging for the lads who don't get picked, but certainly the lads who don't get picked, they're definitely doing their best to make it competitive and make sure the starting 15 are ready.
Can I ask you just about your opposition this coming weekend, your impressions of Munster over the last 2 weekends? As you said, there's been a kind of degree of continuity in terms of their selection.
Yeah, no, I think they've been good. Obviously against us, the lineup was excellent. They were very competitive at the breakdown. They played some nice width and attack, and then obviously the game yesterday was slightly skewed by the two send-ins off. But even then, before the send-ins off, I thought they played some good width in their attack, and obviously the kicking game and the aerial threat that they've got, they're very good close to the try line. So across the board, they're a quality team and only been enhanced by, obviously Delande coming, Tagburn coming back in this weekend. I thought he was good. So yeah, very, very respectful of the threat they pose.
Stuart, Michael Glennon here. Just wondering how close Dan Leavy is to getting into the 23 for Friday night, and maybe you could just tell us a little bit about his journey, because at the start of it, it was obviously a very serious injury where there could have been all sorts of concerns. Can you just tell us how close he is and a little bit about his journey back?
Yeah, no, he's very close. Obviously he's come into an extremely competitive position. Not only is Dan Leavy come back, Jack Conan's come back from having not been available for a long time. There's the emergence of Ryan Baird as well in the second row. Josh Murphy played really well at the weekend. Max Deegan, Will Connors was excellent at the weekend. Scott Penny was excellent when he came on. So we've got a lot of good players playing in that position, and the challenge for Dan is to make sure he gets back up to speed with the intensity of Leinster's training, which will enable him to put his hand up for selection. So last week he completed his first full week of training, and I thought it was excellent. You could certainly see the old Dan Leavy in training, and we've just finished today. He's again been very, very competitive in today's training session. So, other than playing the game, he's done everything he can to force our hand. Whether he makes the step this week or in the next few weeks, that's to be decided. But very, very pleased to have him back training, and he'll definitely figure for us in the near future, that's for sure. In terms of his recovery, it's remarkable, really. When you consider the the complexity of the injury and the number of different operations he had to have in almost like in a sequential order in order to get back. So credit goes from everyone, from the surgeons who performed those and the way in which they did those, to the medical team here at Leinster, how diligent they were in Dan's recovery from each operation that allowed him to make progress to the next stage. But also to Dan himself, the diligence which he showed to make sure he's come back. I mean, it's phenomenal, really. You look for is he limping? Is he struggling after training sessions? Is he less agile? Is he slower? I mean, none of those things. I see none of those things. He looks like the player that was there when he went before he received the injury, which is incredible, really. So, yeah, excited to have him back. He's excited to be back, and it's just reining him in now.
Do you think there's a mental step to be taken which can only be taken in a competitive fixture for Dan? Yeah,
obviously there is, but training is pretty competitive at Leinster. Whether it's live maul, breakdown wise, and tackle contact. You tend to do those sessions at the start of the week, and he's been involved in those sessions last Tuesday. Today was reasonably competitive because obviously a lot of the lads didn't play at the weekend, and from what I'm seeing, he's not suffering any mental challenges. But obviously in some ways the game's not easier, but you just get on with it when you're in a game. In a training session, maybe you're a bit more tentative, but he didn't seem like that today.
Stuart, Jerry Corrie here. I'm just wondering, in relation to Leinster and the injury situation is very good in terms of Dave Kearney seems to be the only guy at the moment who's out. But how much of that is down to the way Leinster train? The regime and the way guys look after themselves.
Yeah, I think it's probably a reflection of how well the players looked after themselves during the lockdown period, to be honest. So it was a very difficult period to manage, as you know, and I thought we hit the good balance between giving them a mental and physical break, but also the sessions were designed to make sure we didn't pick up a lot of soft tissue injuries when we came back in. And obviously the staged approach to return to contact as well has been managed well. Now, we have still had one or two, but I would say most teams are in the same position as us. But you're right. I mean, we look at our injury board, and it's got one or two in, but it's certainly got a lot of lads who are training. And even on the back of the weekend's game against Ulster, we didn't really pick up any, and we held one or two back from training today, but we still had 38 lads training today. And I think with the lads who were rested after the Ulster game, they'll come back and train Wednesday. Could easily have 45 training, which is amazing, really, in terms of the diligence and the credit that the backroom staff should have for getting the lads ready, having been out for the game so long.
Yeah, and just in relation to Dan Leavy there, I mean, ideally you'd probably like to play him this weekend because following week you have a final, the PRO14. If you get through, and then week after that, quarter final of the Heineken, it'd be difficult to bring him into the final or the quarter final. Maybe a semi-final is a better option.
Well, yeah, but there's a lot of other back rows who've had something to say about that. You'll have to drop the lads who are Irish internationals as well, and so it's not quite as simple as just granting Dan an opportunity, because if you look at Caelan Doris, Rhys Ruddock, as I said, Josh Murphy, Jack Conan, Josh van der Fleer, Will Connors, Scott Penny. There's a lot of good lads there who've been playing and training really well over the last 12 months. So yeah, we want to obviously give him an opportunity as soon as we can, but equally, we've got to balance that with the right decision for the team.
Thanks.
Hi Stuart, Jason Hennessy here. Just looking at Munster ahead of the weekend, they couldn't afford to make as many changes as you did because they had to pick up a couple of points, and they've got a 5-day turnaround. Do you need to be careful this weekend that you don't kind of get sucked into a dogfight with Munster? They could be tired out there, and that might be their own way of overturning you.
Well, I think in some ways, it can work both ways. That sort of, playing 3 games in a short space of time with the same group of players, in some ways that can actually not help, but it certainly it can get cohesion. You can get confidence by doing that. So it'll be interesting how it plays out. There's no doubt that they'll rest and recover well. They'll manage to get the bench on quite early in the second half, which obviously helped. But these lads, a lot of the Munster lads, they've been to World Cups, they've been in big games where they've had short turnarounds in the past. They'll manage themselves well, and I know the coaching team well enough to know that they'll have their team ready for Friday night. And we're expecting an absolute battle.
Thanks, Stuart.
Stuart, how's it going? Pat McCarry here. Was there any talk or has it been arranged to have maybe possibly like a Leinster A game in the next week or two that you can give game time to some more of these lads?
Yeah, there's been some talk. I mean, I've not really seen the exact detail, but I know the RFU were hoping to arrange games like that. But as to whether they're not actually confirmed yet, certainly not penciled in. So, the bizarre thing is obviously this season's coming to a culmination, but the next season's going to start very soon. So round 1 of the Pro14, it starts in a few weeks' time, really. So, and then before long, the Irish internationals will start. We'll lose obviously a lot of players. So whilst the lads not getting many opportunities at the moment, come mid-October, all of November, we'll be missing. I don't know how many Andy Farrell picked, but traditionally it's between 10 and 15, if not a little bit more. So there'll definitely be opportunities to play because the Pro14 runs right the way through that period as well.
Yeah. I know. I was going to just say there, even like the likes of maybe someone like Tyke Furlong and James Ryan. Is it a matter like that? They're probably so eager, especially after this big COVID break that we've had, to get back playing. You almost have to be kind of cruel to be kind to them in a way and tell them to kind of bide their time.
Yeah, we make the right decision, but that's all based on the medics and the conditioning team, really. From a rugby point of view, we've got to make sure they've done enough sessions with us to satisfy us that they're good enough to be picked in terms of selection. But, we wouldn't put them in if they weren't ready. But equally, if they are ready and they've trained and they've proven themselves in training, then if they're high quality players, then clearly we're going to push for selection.